Hi everybody, thank you so much for coming back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. So today I thought that I would do a video on preventions in the Renaissance era, which is part of the Edexcel board for medicine through time. So at the school that I'm at, we have to have a certain look for our starter slides, so they will look all the same. But my big question, which is the title, is how did preventions change during the Middle Ages and Renaissance? So, the connect then is to explain to someone who's unfamiliar with medicine in the Renaissance what the core beliefs were and what progress key people made during this period. So obviously they can discuss this with a partner, or they could just write it straight away. So I have got some prompt images. So I've got Vesalius, I've got William Harvey, I have got Ambrose Paré, which is a bit cheeky because we haven't talked about Paré, but I thought I'd add it in as sort of an extra that I could maybe talk about briefly, so maybe that you could miss that one out. And I've also got Thomas Sydenham, so hopefully they would talk about somebody out of those. And then our keyword is prevention, so it's a method of stopping something from happening. So there's a big focus with the Edexcel Medicine Through Time board with preventions, causes and treatments, and they are separate and they do get mixed up, so it's important to make sure that the students know that there are differences. So this is the page that I print just on plain paper. Again, the backgrounds have to be a certain look for our department where I work, but they would just be on a white slide. So we've got a gap for new technology and ideas, we've got main prevention ideas, impact of the new technology, and then is it similar or different from the Middle Ages. So obviously you could change this depending on what you wanted to put in, but using pages 50 to 51 of the Edexcel Medicine Through Time sort of foundational textbook, that's there to help. Obviously they can also work in groups, and then they've got some ideas in terms of questions over on the side as well. So they do this on A3 or A4 depending on what you think is necessary, but this is a better way of doing it, I think, than just doing the answer the questions over and over again. So what preventions were used in the Renaissance? So again, this was the original slide that I then changed into this. So these are the questions that you could also go through as well, and then obviously it's up to you how you want to go through those. I do get them to also write what they think afterwards. So do they believe that new ideas about preventing disease is mainly down to the new technology, or is it due to the changing attitudes? And then some prompt questions here. So thinking about what technology helped change ideas, how big was the impact of the technology, and how far have people's attitudes changed? So obviously thinking about cleanliness, also thinking about the decline of the church influence during the Renaissance compared to the Middle Ages period. So it's up to them which one they would want to do, but you could always come back to this if you wanted to do a bigger 16/20 mark question and practice that. So this homework is what I set my year 10s, which is completely up to you. I do think that this homework was challenging on purpose. So they will do source work, but it will be on the Western Front during World War One. Now, we haven't got to that point yet. My groups, as of when I'm making this video, have only done the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. So we have not got to the point where they would be doing the Western Front. But what I do want to ensure is that they know how to analyse sources. So when we get to that stage, I will make it really clear to them that the source work will only be on the Western Front, and we will practice those specific sources. However, at this early point, my goal is to make sure that they are getting those key skills down of source analysis. So I made this sheet for them. I have got very unique sources perhaps, but it says how useful are sources A and B for an inquiry into preventions of disease during the Renaissance era. Now, source A is Death and the Miser by Hieronymus Bosch. This is during the Renaissance period, and it's a much bigger, as you can see, the image is cropped on this slide, but the goal is that they might talk about something to do with everything in moderation, regimen sanitatis, ideas of sin and not being greedy in life. So they talk about preventions in terms of being a good Christian, paying the church, or, being just generally anything to do with that. They could also link down to physicians and regimen sanitatis, everything in moderation, not to be greedy, because obviously we go through we do plan this before they go away to do it at home. And then B is a painting, Bathsheba and Her Bath, by Rembrandt, which again is a Renaissance painting, which this one is slightly more obvious and straightforward than source A. So this one is about the fact that during the Renaissance they're now mainly washing with cloth, linking to that idea that full body immersion in water would open the pores to disease. So we're moving away from bathhouses as well, because obviously there's a spread of syphilis and things like that. So this is their chance to talk about these new ideas of cleanliness and bathing and how that would be a prevention. So really, it's only an 8-mark question. So all they need to do is talk about how they're both. So we always say the sources are always useful. They're never not useful. So source A is useful because it shows this. Source B is useful because it shows this. Talk a bit about, like the fact they're from the Renaissance period, that they're helpful in that sense, and then together they give us a bigger picture of prevention ideas. So again, this homework is very difficult on purpose. I want them to be able to do difficult sources because I personally feel like a lot of the Western Front sources are quite easy. So that is that. Again, very specific. I also did this one as well. I ended up adding some provenance on here because it didn't have it before. So this is again just an idea. It's the same question, but this time it's a man eating. So again, linking into that idea of moderation, how diet makes up the 4 humours, and that prevention is really key, and that's the main belief. Trying to avoid catching the disease in the first place. And then we've also got this idea about bathing. Obviously this would be this is an engraving from around sort of Germany or the Low Countries, talking about bathing within the wooden tubs. Would he be fully immersed? No. So again, they're talking about that, but you can see in the image it's got a crown, so they could talk about the fact that people with a bit of money would have more access to physicians, new informations, etc. So it's just some practice to put their key skills to use. They're not the most easy sources, and I have done that intentionally, as I keep saying. So you might disagree with that, which is fine. I've also put a bit of an idea of a model answer, but there is this as well, the chance for them to choose a question, and then obviously it's up to them what they would do with that. So that is my quick lesson on preventions during the Renaissance period. I hope that might give some good ideas into what you could maybe do with your groups, or if you are a student, maybe some ideas of what questions you might want to practice. But I hope it was helpful, and I hope that I see you in another video. Okay, bye.